something that has been bugging me for a while: mental health issues and how people just ignore them like they raise some kind of myth. It is like we're living in a world where everyone has got their own battles, but nobody wants to talk about it. I mean, come on, it's 2023. We're still acting like mental health is some taboo subject that we should avoid like the plague. Let me share a bit of my story. A couple of years back, I had a rough patch. I was feeling low, like really low. I didn't want to get out of bed, and everything felt heavy. I thought it was just a phase, like I'll snap out of it in a few days. But days turned into weeks, and I found myself stuck in this dark place. I finally decided to reach out to a friend, hoping for some support or at least someone who'd understand. Instead, I got the classic line, "Just think positive, you'll be fine." Ugh, that hit hard. It's like, dude, if it were that easy, don't you think I'd be doing it already? I felt so dismissed. It is frustrating when people brush off mental health issues like they just a bad mood or something you can shake off with a pep talk. Wanted to scream, "I'm not just being dramatic. This is real," but instead, I just nodded and changed the subject. I started noticing this kind of ignorance everywhere, like when someone talks about anxiety and the response is just chill. It's not a big deal. I've been there, and let me tell you, anxiety isn't just about being nervous. It's like having a constant storm in your head where you can't find shelter. It's exhausting, but people don't get it. They think it's just about being shy or a little worried about a test. They don't see the sleepless nights or the racing thoughts that make you feel like you're really losing your mind. I remember this one time in class, I was having a panic attack. My heart was racing, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. I tried to focus on the lecture, but it was like everything was closing in on me. I raised my hand to excuse myself, and my teacher just looked at me like I was being overdramatic. She said, "You're fine, just breathe." I wanted to shout, "I'm not fine. I need help." But instead, I just sat there, feeling even more isolated. It's moments like that when you realize how little people understand mental health struggles. It's not just friends and teachers, it's family too. I had a family member once tell me that mental health issues were a sign of weakness. Like, seriously? That kind of thinking makes it so hard for people to open up. I can't even count how many times I've heard, "Just toughen up," or "You're just looking for attention." It's infuriating. I mean, who wants to feel this way? But he chooses to struggle with their mental health. It's not a badge of honor. It's a battle that many of us are fighting silently. I've also seen how this ignorance affects people's willingness to seek help. I have a friend who's been dealing with depression for years. He finally decided to talk to a therapist, but he was so scared of what people would think. He kept saying, "What if they think I'm crazy?" It broke my heart because I knew how much he needed support, but the stigma surrounding mental health made him feel ashamed. It is like we're stuck in this never-ending cycle where people suffer in silence because they're afraid of being judged. But here's the kicker: mental health issues are super common. You'd be shocked at how many people are dealing with their own struggles. I started talking to more people about my experiences. It was like opening a floodgate. Friends I thought were perfectly fine opened up about their battles with anxiety, depression, and everything in between. It was eye-opening to see how many of us were navigating this storm together. Yet we were all too scared to talk about it. I realized that the more we share our stories, the more we can break down those walls of ignorance. I started a little group chat with some friends where we could talk about our mental health openly. At first, it was awkward, like, what do we even say? But as we started sharing our experiences, it felt like a weight was lifted. We could vent, share coping strategies, and just be there for each other without judgment. It was refreshing to know that I wasn't alone in this, and it encouraged others to speak up too. I also began educating myself about mental health. Read books, listened to podcasts, and followed mental health advocates on social media. The more I learned, the more I realized how important it is to spread awareness. I started sharing info on my social media accounts, hoping to reach someone who might be struggling. I'd post about the signs of anxiety or depression and share resources for getting help. It felt good to know that I could contribute to the conversation even in a small way. Now, I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I do know that we need to change the narrative around mental health. We need to stop dismissing people's struggles and start listening. If someone opens up to you about their mental health, don't brush it off with a cliche. Instead, ask questions, offer support, and let them know it's okay to feel what they're feeling. Sometimes just knowing that someone cares can make all the difference. We also need to advocate for better mental health resources. Schools, workplaces, and communities need to prioritize mental health awareness and support systems. It's not enough to just say we care about mental health. We need action, more programs, better training for teachers and employers, and accessible resources for those in need. It's time to stop ignoring the issue and start addressing it head on. At the end of the day, mental health is just as important as physical health. We wouldn't ignore someone with a broken leg, so why do we ignore the invisible struggles? It's time to break the silence and start having these conversations. Let's create a world where people feel safe to share their experiences without fear of judgment. Together, we can make a difference and help each other heal. So, if you're reading this, take a moment to check in on your friends and family. Ask them how they're really doing. Be that person who listens and supports. And if you're struggling, know that you're not alone. It's okay to seek help, and it's okay to talk about it. Let's keep the conversation going and break down the walls of ignorance surrounding mental health.